I saw this interesting topic and I decided to share with you all today. Let me show you the video.
I want to ask all the second wives who are now divorced from their husbands. You were the second wife of that person. What was the story you fell for? What was the pity party? What was the manipulation? What was the lie that you were told to get you to marry this person? Did you feel sorry for them? Was there something with the children? Was there woe is me? They needed help. What was it about this man that drew you in so that you became the second wife and now you're divorced? I want to know, how did they get you?
Are you a second wife? What is your story? What did he say to convince you to agree to marry him? Again, we all know that when these men divorce or when they marry second wife, most of them lie about their first wife and they might not tell you the real truth. So what is it that really convinced you and be like, oh, this man is actually a good man? The first wife must have not realized he was a good person. The first wife must have not been patient enough to see the good side of him. And there's one thing I know is men always change in their second marriages. The way they act in their first marriages, they act like they're still learning. They're still in the learning process. But then the second one, they tend to do this, the things that the first wife was complaining, the thing that the first wife wants in the marriage. That's exactly what they'll be doing in their second marriage. Are you a second wife watching this video? What is your story? Can you share your thoughts in the comment section? I have few reaction from second wife sharing their story. Let's go ahead and watch their stitches together, and I'll be back to share my thoughts at the end of the videos.
Husbands. You were the second wife of that person. What was the story you fell for? What was
Remember, my content is for the girlies, for my decentering girlies, for my girlies that just want to do better and make better choices. I think the better question is, what made you think you were the exception? What about this man being left? Because most likely, the woman initiated the divorce or the separation. What in your right mind told you that this woman would rather raise her children alone and be a single parent than be married to this man? This is a reason why I just stay away from relationships with men with children. If a man was a terrible man to the mother of his children, in most cases, I would argue he is a bad man. And the issue lies that many women think that they are the exception, that he won't do them dirty. Don't let them fool you.
the lie that you were told to get you to marry this person?
He didn't really lie. I was just dumb. I was 19 and he was 30. That should tell you something right there. But there were signs. I just ignored them because I thought she was her and I was me. Sure. Are a lot of men liars? Manipulators? Absolutely. But honestly, most of the lying is done between ourselves. We do it to ourselves because we think we're different. But that relationship did teach me to stop lying to myself and to recognize the signs because they're there.
The second wife of that person. What was the story you fell for? What was the pity party?
So I want to preface this by saying that me and my ex-husband are very good friends. We get along great. And there is, this is more just a warning to people that start dating someone who has been divorced. By no means am I saying you shouldn't date a divorced person, because I don't know, there's so many of us now. And we've all been through our own things. But a word of caution that I wish I had paid attention to when I was in my 20s when I met my ex-husband. So basically, I met him within a year of his divorce being finalized from his first wife. They've been married for a very short amount of time. She basically decided she didn't want to be married to him, and she's the one who pursued the divorce, and she's the one that abandoned him and left. That's his side of the story, as he likes to tell it. Excuse me, I'm sick. Anyway, and so there wasn't really anything for me to fall for, but he did paint her in not the best light when we first started dating, and I wish in retrospect that I had pursued that a little bit more. Maybe try to get her side of the story, or waited to hear him clarify a bit more early on, you know, and say how he was responsible for that. I think identifying how we are accountable and why our partners are not happy with us and why they leave. Yes, a lot of the times it's the individual, but you know, sometimes it's you. And I think if you're in a marriage and it ends and you in no way can be like, this is one or two of the ways that I maybe could have done better or contributed to the situation in a better way so that divorce didn't happen, you're being delusional, right? And so I think in retrospect, I wish I had pursued that more early on. I do, after, you know, our more than decade of time together in each other's lives and being best friends, know that he had a lot of undealt with trauma and hurt from her that constantly trickled into me. I was constantly being compared to her through our entire relationship, from dating all the way up through our divorce process, even recently. And so, you know, being the second wife is tough. And so I would recommend, if you're talking to someone and they have been divorced, just really check in and see if they have done the work. Have they healed? Have they processed? Do they speak of that person with hurt and anger in their voice, or do they sound like a person who has healed? And I think that's a really important thing to note. And like I said before, I love my ex-husband. We're good friends. We've gone through a rough patch here lately because of things to do with me, with the whole dating and everything. But that's our personal business. But and I know he doesn't like me to share his stuff, but I just do think it's a fair warning that, like, yeah, you should do your homework. Even if they seem like a great person, look out for every single red flag and talk about those red flags early on. And that's all.
I want to ask all the second wives who are now divorced from their husbands. You were the second wife of that person. What was the story you fell for?
Okay, second wife here, and the way I came into being with my now ex-husband, met him the night his divorce was final. He was only married for about 6 months. He, as I was told, he was pressured into marriage because he was very conservative, like Christian, almost cult, and he was having a crisis of faith. He never really wanted to be divorced. She just wasn't, kind of pressured into getting married because they were living in sin. He was 21. I was 21 when I married him, and he's 2 years older than me. So it was, we were married for about 5 years. And in the beginning of our marriage, because he was kind of having a crisis of faith, he wasn't as religious, which I am not at all. After my son was born, he started getting religious again. And there was just, we were, you know what? We shouldn't have been married. But the question at hand was, how did he convince me to be a second wife? Was the pity party. I felt really bad for him. Progress from there. But yeah, the downfall of our marriage was definitely him wanting me to be a trad wife and me going, oh, the fuck I am. And him really wanting me to hone in on this like conservative Pentecostal Christian Southern Baptist craziness that I just was not. I was raised Catholic and I'm not anymore. So like, I'm not going down that road. He currently now is a pastor, I believe, on his third wife. So good for him. I think it's important to add as well. I do believe this, which is he didn't really want to marry me. He just wanted to be married. And there are men out there that think that way. And I truly believe that my ex-husband probably loved me at some point, but he loved the idea of being married more.
You were the second wife of that person. What was the story you fell for? What was the pity?
When my ex-husband got married for the second time, it was an arranged marriage. And hands down, his family would have said to that girl in India that, oh, the first marriage, psh, she was a bitch. She didn't cook, she didn't clean, she didn't respect him. She just wanted to go out. And my ex-husband, if you asked him, how come your first marriage didn't work out? He'd just say we were young and stupid. And when I spoke to him a couple of years ago, he was like, you know what, you didn't even take anything. I didn't take anything from his property or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, and you still see the good in me? Because I left him, broke his heart. So it's not like the guys are always wankers. Of course, he has some part to play in our breakup, of course, right? But not always is it that the guys are wankers. Sometimes I could be a right wanker.
You were the second wife of that person. What was the story you fell for? What was the
Remember, my content is for the girlies, for my decentering girlies, for my girlies that just want to do better and make better choices. I think the better question is, what made you think you were the exception? What about this man being left? Because most likely, the woman initiated the divorce or the separation. What in your right mind told you that this woman would rather raise her children alone and be a single parent than be married to this man? This is a reason why I just stay away from relationships with men with children. If a man was a terrible man to the mother of his children, in most cases, I would argue he is a bad man. And the issue lies that many women think that they are the exception, that he won't do them dirty. Don't let them fool you.
I want to ask all the second wives who are now divorced from their husbands. You were the second.
As somebody who was married for 20 years, I don't know if that's going to happen again. Because as soon as you said second wife, I was like, it just doesn't set well right here. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, I like being bent over. Yep. But being bent over and chained to the barrel, that's a hostage situation. I don't see myself ever getting into another hostage situation. Okay? What's funny is I think my ex would say the same thing. I don't know. And it's not about cheating. It's not about just one person. Monogamy is my jam. Yeah, it's monogamy or nothing. Like, I don't have this rotation or anything. It's just the hostage situation is mm-mm.
Third wife here, he claimed first wife was crazy, second wife never loved him, only married him for his benefit. I am the head clown of my own crisis. Sorry for the laugh. My current husband told me she was nuts. She's in fact nuts. I'm slowly becoming nuts. My husband is the common denominator. I was second wife to my first husband. He lied about everything. He's on wife number 4 now and he's 38 years old. There's nothing wrong being a second wife, especially if you know what you're doing. But I feel like for you to be a second wife, you should be able to ask so many questions. Ask the man so many questions. And I feel like sometimes if you can reach out to the ex and ask some questions as well, because I personally don't believe anything that comes out of these men mouths because they are manipulators and they lie a lot. So most of the time they might not tell you what they did wrong, and even if they tell you what they did wrong, they will just tell you a few things and be like, these are the things I did wrong, but these are the major things she did wrong. And one thing I always tell myself is a woman will not just decide to leave a good man and want to stay as a single mother and want to raise herself. No, something must have happened most of the time. Most of the time, something must have happened, no matter how unhappy or how happy the relationship is. Something must have happened to allow the woman to make the woman to say, okay, you know what, I am done in this relationship and I want to go. So when you meet a man that is a divorcee, ask him questions, ask him terrible questions, so that he can actually tell you the main, so that you will not fall victim. Because most of the comments I was saying in the comment section were second wife that were saying that, I was the second wife, I got deceived, and he told me his wife was crazy, and now I'm the one crazy. Like everything is turning around on its own. But one thing I know is that these men change. They change when they are in their second marriages, in their third marriages. They act different, they act better than the first one. So you might be lucky, but it's a game of luck. But first, you need to know the kind of person you're in a relationship with and what really happened. Some of them might be beating their first wives, but they won't tell you. And they might tell you they were beating them, but it was the woman that caused it. Like, man, can manipulate. But it's going to be a shameful thing if you are entering your second marriage. You as a woman, you're entering your second marriage and you're marrying as a second wife, but then things are not still right for you. It shows that you didn't learn from your first marriage. Marriage doesn't benefit women at all. It's a scam to women. So if you want to go inside it, even if you're being a second wife, you're being a third wife, you're being the fifth wife to this man, make sure you're entering with benefits, something that's going to benefit you, physical benefits, not future benefits. Not something that is like an ambition or is an ambitious man. I can see his future. Something you can physically benefit right now from him. That is one of the reasons why you should marry, be a second wife, or even get married at all. If you're not seeing any benefit from this person, move. Are you a second wife? What is your story? Can you share your thought in the comment section? I don't know why there was not a lot of stories on TikTok. I waited for this post to get to this stage because I've seen this video for like I think a week now. I was waiting for so many stitch I didn't see. Maybe they are shy to come out. I don't know. Are you a second wife? Can you share your thought in the comment section? I want to hear a story. What did he say to you that made you to believe him? And are you still married to him? Can you share your thought in the comment section respectfully? And thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you in my next video.